You've been in a room where one man wasn't the loudest, wasn't the richest, wasn't the best looking, also, wasn't the most jacked, hadn't said anything very, very clever or outrightly bold. Yet, somehow, you might have observed every conversation kept finding its way back to him. The old guys wanted his opinion in helping them choose. The young guys wanted his energy. The serious people respected him. The relaxed ones liked having him around themselves. You couldn't fully explain why you were observing him from a distance. Most people can't. It's one of these things you feel before you understand. This video is about the why. There is one skill, just one, that separates a man who is genuinely charming and charismatic from a man who is trying too hard to fit in, trying too hard to socialize, trying too hard to make friends, trying too hard to make a name for himself. That one skill that makes a man influential, not in just one room, not in just one circle, not in just one group, but anywhere, any group, any location, any place, any age bracket, any kind of a person or any group of people, in any conversation at any table. Most men never develop this skill, not because they're not capable, but because nobody ever discussed it with them, or talked about it with them, or told them this. Nobody even informed them that it was learnable. Nobody ever explained the mechanism. Today, I am naming it, and by the end of this video, you'll have a way to start building it before you close this video. This is the composed meal. Let's get into it. Let's go. The name of the skill is worldliness. But before you check out on that word, I need to destroy the version of it you already have in your head because you've almost certainly been thinking about it wrong. Worldly does not mean well traveled. You can fly 40 countries, collect 45 passport stamps, sit in different airport lounges, and still be one of the most provincial, local minded, and slim minded thinkers in any room you walk into. Travel without curiosity, travel without experiences, travel without socializing is just relocation stuck in a loop. Here's what worldly actually means, it's a three-part stack actually. So, first one, well read. Second one, well understanding. But above everything else, well tolerant, well observant. Well read means you have studied things that don't interest you, not just the subjects you were drawn to, but the ones that bored you, challenged you, or outrightly irritated you also. Because a man who only studies what he already agrees with isn't learning. He's just confirming his beliefs, he's just confirming his opinions. Well understanding means that you can hold a worldview that isn't yours, turn it over in your head, see the internal logic of it without needing to adopt it. You can understand why a man thinks the way he thinks, even when you think completely different in his position, but still. Well tolerant means this is the one that separates the men who have the skill from the men who just think they do. Well tolerant doesn't mean agreeing with everyone. It doesn't mean being spineless or having no convictions of your own. It means your identity doesn't require other people to validate it. It means you can sit inside a framework that contradicts your own fully, genuinely, not just politely, not just politically correct in a politically correct manner, and come out on the other side with your own thinking intact, even sharpened, and of course, not threatened. That's worldliness. That is the social skill which is missing in today's world, in today's modern men, in the vast majority of young men. Now, coming to the mechanism, the best way I've found to explain how this skill actually operates it is in two images. Now imagine the first image is of water. Water has no fixed shape. It doesn't force the container to bend around it. It fills whatever it's in, a glass, a river, a crack in a stone. It adopts without losing what it fundamentally is. It's still water. It doesn't lose its form. It doesn't lose its identity. It doesn't lose its existence. It just meets the container on the container's terms. That is what a worldly man does socially. He doesn't just walk into any room and try to make the room fit him. Instead, he reads the room, its energy, its vocabulary, its concerns, and he adjusts his shape, his demeanor, his mannerisms, his way of communication, his way of talking, his way of carrying himself, his gait, as per the room. Not because he has no spine, but because he has enough for himself to spare some. The second image is of a sponge. And this one is important because a sponge isn't passive. It doesn't just wait for things to land on it, it draws things in naturally because of what it is, a sponge. A worldly man in a conversation isn't just listening, standing there, or tolerating what is being said, but he is actively absorbing the framework using which the other person is operating from, their logic, their language, their concerns. He takes it in, processes it, and reflects something back that makes the other person feel genuinely understood. That combination, the shapelessness of water combined with the absorption characteristic of a sponge, is what makes a certain man feel like they belong in every room they enter. It's not just magic, it's not just only charisma you're born with. It's a practice skill made up of two very specific disciplines: knowing how to shape yourself to a context and knowing how to draw the energy of a room into yourself and become a part of it. The man who can do both is the man no room can own. He's always the most interesting person there because he's the most present, mindfully also, and in reality also. Now, here's the uncomfortable version of this conversation, and I'm going to be direct because I think you need to hear it clearly. It is suboptimally, not just socially awkward, but actively self limiting to be seen as only one kind of a guy. Because being known for one thing gives you depth in one circle and walls of everything else. While you're deep in that one circle, congratulating yourself or how real you are, how authentic you are, how genuine you are, you're leaving entire rooms of opportunity and improving yourself and climbing up the stairs completely empty. Connections, networks, influences, having leverage for yourself, building leverage completely untouched. Let me give you a concrete example. Now, if you're standing in a group of people and you're talking about how women can't drive in every group, not just one, in every group, you will immediately get sorted in that category. Some men will laugh and pull you closer. Most rooms, especially the ones that actually have power in them, will quietly, subtly file you away as someone they can't bring to the table slowly, eventually. That's not woke politics, that's just social arithmetics, social calculations. Now, if you observe very, very carefully, you see this pattern everywhere. Once you know what you're looking at, there's this politics guy. Every conversation eventually becomes a referendum of his political identity. Then there's this hustle guy. Every topic is a synagogue into his morning routine, his income goals, and whatnot. Then there's the fitness guy. You already know what he's going to talk about before he opens his mouth. And yes, then there comes the red pill guy. Hmm. To be honest, I was actually one of these guys for a very long time. But yeah, as we grow, as we progress, we learn things and then we improve ourselves as well. Now, coming back to this red pill guy, the man who's absorbed the framework, found it useful, and now needs every interaction to confirm. I want to be precise here because this is what matters. The men who built those frameworks, discipline, self improvement, the rejection of passivity. got a lot of it right. I'm not saying they are wrong or the mindset is wrong or the ideology is wrong. No, not at all. If that content helped you build yourself, good. That's the point. But here, the single flaw is what turns these men into social dead ends. When the ideology becomes the identity, the man can no longer engage with anyone who doesn't already agree with him. Every conversation becomes either recruitment or confirmation of the same thought, or it becomes a rejection. Every disagreement becomes a mental threat. And the man who was supposed to be building himself from the end upwards ends up smaller because his world is now only as big as his echo chamber that validates him psychologically, physically, mentally, socially. That's not synced. That's just a very, very small, minuscule micro world dressed up as a strong one. I'll be honest here. I've been that guy in some or the other version. To be very honest with you, I have been on this road. I have been that. Many men have. You find something that clicks, something that explains the world, something that helps you understand concepts simply. And for a while, you want to run everything through that concepts or that ideologies or that fundamentals lenses itself. It feels like clarity up to a certain extent, up to a certain point, but to be very honest, genuinely, actually, it isn't. It's just more sophisticated limitation. But at the end of the day, it is again a limitation, right? Like the concept of the golden cage. It might be made of gold. It might be very, very valuable also. It might be very good looking also. But at the end of the day, it is a cage in which that person or you or me for that matter might be trapped in. A golden cage is still a cage. We might categorize it in a very good manner, but a cage is a cage. The worldly man doesn't have a single lens, he has a collection of lenses. He picks the right room for the room he is standing in. Again, very, very crucial and important point. Here's what nobody wants to admit about this skill, the worldliness. The reason most men don't have it isn't laziness, it's fear. It's the fear that if you genuinely understand a worldview that contradicts yours, if you really sit inside it and see what makes it make sense to someone, you might lose yourself some way or the other. You might come out on the other side less certain about who you are. But that's exactly backwards. The men with the most secure sense of self are the one who can walk furthest, the farthest, the longest into a foreign territory and come back unchanged. The men who can't afford to understand a different worldview are the ones who identify was whose identity, sorry, whose identity was never solid enough to survive the exposure. So, the real question which comes here is, do you have that range? Are you secure enough to build that range? The practical expression of this skill, the moment where it actually shows up in your life, is what I call chiming in. Now, let me tell you what chiming in actually means. Chiming in is not the same as jumping in. Jumping in is what an insecure man does. They hear a gap in the conversation and they just hop in and they fill it themselves. Chiming in is something else. It's the ability to enter a conversation that was already moving, read exactly where it is, and add something that makes what was already there in the conversation richer without redirecting it towards yourself. There is a very, very thin, slim line here between chiming in and jumping in. Let me know in the comments below if you've not understood this point. I'll make a separate video or I'll reply to your comments explaining this in much more detail and depth. Here's the distinction: a man who jumps in makes the conversation about him, not directly, also, maybe not, maybe directly, maybe indirectly, maybe his mind does that and he is not aware about it, but this does happen. A man, on the other hand, who is chiming in makes the other person feel like the conversation just got better because you're right. This is why the most genuinely influential man in any room, the most genuinely leveraged man in any room, is often the one who speaks the least. The lesser the number of words spoken, the more the skill works. They don't feel the need to perform. They listen, actually genuinely listen, not just wait for their turn. And when they do speak, the room leans in because it's learned that when he speaks, it's worth hearing. There are three things that make chiming in possible. Let me come to that. Number one, what makes it truly chiming in and not jumping in is not having any personal stake in the outcome of the conversation. Wherever the conversation is headed, wherever the conversation's outcome is headed, whatever it leads to, you don't need anybody to agree with it. Neither you have any personal image or personal outcome or personal opinion attached to it. This is the number one skill. If you need the group to agree with you, you're not chiming in, you're lobbying. The moment you detach yourself from the outcome, your entire presence in that conversation or in that group completely flips, completely changes. You become genuinely curious instead of strategically curious. People feel that difference. The second one is speaking the room's language before your own language, before your own thoughts. Every circle has a vocabulary, a set of references, a shared shorthand. The worldly man picks that up very, very quickly, not to fake the belonging, but to signal respect for the room's culture before asking it to accept his contribution. The third is leaving your personal emotions out of it. This is, and again, an explanation of the first elongated sort of elaboration of the first point itself, but in much more depth and detail. Let me tell you. This is the hardest one. Why? Because some conversations are going to touch things you care about. Maybe a political worldview, money, relationships, identity. And the temptation is to make your feeling about those things known to that circle, known to that group, what you think about that. But here's the brutal truth: the moment you make it personal, you have left the conversation and you have entered into debate mode. That means you are debating with the people. And debates either have winners or they either have losers. Conversations don't. Stay in the conversation. Now, going back to the start of the man from the video, that one conversation kept, the one every conversation kept returning to, the one who seemed to belong everywhere without trying to belong anywhere. Now you know the mechanism how you can do that. He was well read on things that didn't interest him. He was well understanding of the frameworks he didn't share. He was well tolerant, not because he had no conviction, but because his identity didn't depend on the room confirming them. He moved like water, absorbed like sponge, chimed in without contamination. He wasn't performing, he built it quietly, deliberately, over years of choosing curiosity over comfort, understanding over validation, and presence over performance. Here's the exercise I want to leave this video with and to leave you with. Next time you're in a room, you're in a scenario, you're in a situation, you're in a gathering, find the person whose worldview and whose opinions and thoughts is furthest away from yours. Don't argue with them, don't try to change them. Just find that one thing they are generally right about and sit with it. Do that consistently, and in 6 months, your worldview will be twice the size it is today. The circles you can enter, the conversations you can hold, the influence you can build, all of it expands. Not because you compromised yourself, but because you finally stopped confusing a small world with a strong one. The man who can walk into any room is the man no room can own. It is the kind, if this is the kind of man you're building towards, subscribe, press the bell icon. Discipline, clarity, and daily growth. This is the composed mail. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.